Welcome back to the United Stand. It is Ruben Amorim's press conference reaction as there is a huge injury boost. Harry Maguire, Lenny Yoro, progress on Aiden Heaven. Things are looking up for Manchester United's injury woes, especially in the defensive department. Luke Shaw as well, still making steady progress. We'll get the exact updates for you in a second. I'll bring them to you with who is in line to potentially start against Nottingham Forest tomorrow night, who will be back in the squad, who needs a little bit of extra time. But injuries are looking better. Players are returning. There's no more injuries. It's people coming back, and that's what we want to hear. Ruben Amorim also asked about the intensity, the amount of games that are coming up, where he expects Manchester United to finish in the Premier League. Also asked about the Europa League importance as well. Nuno Santos, the Nottingham Forest manager, and his thoughts on the rest of the season. I'm going to be completely honest. I wish there were some juicier questions in there. There was room to ask about Bruno Fernandes. There was a story coming out literally this morning about Ruben Amorim demanding Sir Jim Ratcliffe and demanding Manchester United to shut down Bruno Fernandes' sale to Real Madrid. Any potential bids for Bruno Fernandes? Apparently, Ruben Amorim sees Bruno Fernandes as a massive part of his team and he doesn't want him to go. There's a lot of people out there that would probably let him go for 90 million because of his age. We know he's a massively important player, but is it a Harry Kane situation where Harry Kane's one of the best players in the world? He still is for Bayern Munich. But they just couldn't refuse the money that they were getting at that point. 100 million for a player of that age. Is Bruno Fernandes that version for us? That's for you guys in the comments. I thought that was a question that could have been asked, that was missed. Maybe we'll get it in the embargoed section. But it was such a short press conference where I feel like the only really significant bits that were popping out to us is the injury stuff. But we've got loads to talk about. We've got the Cunha stuff to talk about as well. We've got the Gyökeres stuff to talk about. So we'll get into it in the chat and get your comments in down below. But just to confirm, Ruben Amorim has said Harry Maguire and Lenny Yoro are available for Manchester United's game against Nottingham Forest. So that is a huge defensive boost for us. We had a situation where Martinez was out injured, Yoro was out injured, Harry Maguire was out injured, and then we thought Aiden Heaven was going to be out injured for the rest of the season. For a manager that plays with three centre-backs, it wasn't looking good. Now we've got a situation where Yoro and Harry Maguire are both going to travel to Nottingham Forest, to the City Ground. That's massive. And his update on Aiden Heaven is that it was not so serious. He is recovering. He's not ready to play, but he's going to return this season for sure. We had an update earlier on this morning as well that Aiden Heaven has made significant progress in his recovery and his return is looking more likely. So Aiden Heaven, I think within the next couple of weeks, he could be back playing for Manchester United by what we're hearing. That's just me interpreting information that's coming out about his recovery and the fact he's looking better. And it was the information on Aiden Heaven was so different week to week. We had news that he was out of his protective boot, then we had pictures not so long ago at Carrington where he's back in his protective boot. Everyone was worried, but Ruben Amorim has confirmed that Aiden Heaven will be back this season and it's not so serious. That sounds good. So he could be returning soon as well, hopefully for that game against Lyon, which is literally next week. Games are going to be coming thick and fast, by the way. I think the Manchester derby might be a little bit soon. He might try and save him over for the Europa League. And also a little bit of an update on Luke Shaw. I mean, surprise, surprise, Luke Shaw still isn't ready, but he's now involved in team training drills, Ruben Amorim said. So Luke Shaw is actually training now with the team, which, I mean, I don't even believe it now. I have, in my head, factored in that Luke Shaw just isn't a United player anymore. So when he eventually is back with the squad, which looks like is going to happen, we've had situations before where it looks like Luke Shaw's going to return and then he suddenly has a relapse and he has a setback and then he's gone again for a few months. So I won't put it past that happening. But if Luke Shaw gets back as well, that's a left-sided centre-back again that could potentially play. I mean, he'll probably last 60 minutes if that, but it's still another option. So massive, massive defensive boost for Ruben Amorim. He also gets asked about Marcus Rashford in a little bit as well. And I watched the presser. It's always better when you can watch the presser. And any chance that any media gets to ask about Marcus Rashford, they're going to ask the question. It's a clickable headline. It's Marcus Rashford. His name is absolutely massive. But Ruben Amorim's face as soon as he asked about Marcus Rashford, it was absolutely hilarious. He was just like, not again. Not again. He answered it pretty well though, so I'll bring that in a second as well. But Amorim on Luke Shaw said Luke Shaw is not ready yet. We are starting to do some drills with the team, but we are building Luke. Mason Mount is feeling better. He was already on the bench the last game. Kobbie Mainoo is almost returning, but he's not ready yet for this game. Johnny Evans is recovering. Aiden is recovering. Lissandro Martinez is out, and I think that's it. Harry Maguire is also ready for the game, and Lenny Yoro, he is ready as well. So Maguire and Yoro are actually the only two that are going to be back for Forest, but it looks like Kobbie Mainoo and Aiden Heaven are pretty close as well, and Mason Mount's probably going to be on the bench again. Whether he even plays him, that's another question, because I thought he was going to play him for 5 minutes in the last game. He didn't end up coming on. Whether he plays him against Forest, I think they'll be being ultra careful with Mason Mount. But he can't be on the bench forever. He's going to have to play, and you're going to have to risk it at some point. It was actually, we've got the Manchester Derby on Sunday, haven't we? It was actually the Manchester Derby last time at the Etihad, you know, when Ahmad just absolutely killed it and was unbelievable at the Etihad. And he usually is good against the big teams, but I just remember Ahmad shining that game. Mason Mount started that game, and that's where he came off injured. So that was the last game he actually played for Manchester United. So him coming back for the derby, I mean, that timing is crazy, isn't it? He went off injured at the Etihad, and the return fixture, he could be back for that game. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he manages to stay fit, because I don't know why, and I probably shouldn't. I have slight hope for Mason Mount. Luke Shaw, no. He's just at this age, and the stuff that I kind of know about that situation, I just don't think he's ever going to be back fully. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. I think he's just going to be injury prone for the rest of his career until he eventually leaves Manchester United. Mason Mount is absolutely injury prone, but he's a bit younger. I know for a fact he does everything right behind the scenes to try and get himself in the best possible shape. He might just be injury prone, and we might never see him successfully start games for Manchester United, which would be a real shame. But there actually is a player there, and he's a bit younger, so there's a bit more hope. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe I'm just being completely naive with that. Ruben Amorim also got asked about the confidence of him in his players. He said, "I think I can say that I am really confident, and the players are more confident. The energy is different, but I know that could change with results. We know we have to improve, and we are ready for these final 2 months of the season." I mean, that's obvious. He got asked about his confidence for the rest of the season. He's not going to sit there and say, "Oh yeah, I'm not very confident in my players. Don't think we're going to do very well." That would just put everyone on a massive downer going into the rest of the season with some really important games coming up. He's obviously going to state his confidence in the players. He needs the players to perform, and I think he's right to have some more confidence in them. We went into the international break probably on our best run of the season under Ruben Amorim. There actually felt like there was a bit of hope. It felt like the players were adapting to the system. We did have quite a few injuries, but certain players were standing up and being counted for. Xerxes looked like he was massively improving. You know, Rasmus Højlund had a goal right towards the end after a massive drought. Garnacho's definitely looking better in the Ruben Amorim system. Bruno Fernandes has had his best vein of form in a very long time. Looks really good right now. Obviously, I don't want to over-egg the pudding, because where we are, still he's nowhere near good enough for Manchester United's levels, but we are looking better. Defensively, we look a lot more solid. De Ligt really standing out in that back line. So the team looks more together, and there is more confidence there, and with players returning, hopefully things can only get better. So there is some positivity going into these last months of the season, and we've got some massively important games coming up as well. A lot of people talking about whether he's going to play youth players. I saw Goldbridge talking about this morning. What we do know is that Chido Obi is going to Villa Park tonight with the under-18. So he will be there. Let me just double check the information on this one. Because, yeah, so it came from Nathan Salt from the Daily Mail, really good journalist, that Chido Obi will be part of the under-18 squad tonight for the FA Youth Cup semi-final against Aston Villa. So he won't be at the City Ground tomorrow against Nottingham Forest. Chido Obi won't be there. He might go to the Etihad for the derby, he might, but I think this is more about the fact that we've got Højlund, we've got Xerxes, the FA Cup semi-final against Aston Villa at Villa Park is absolutely massive, and Chido Obi will be huge for them. And you want to get into the FA Cup youth final. Our academy is important. We're thriving. There's some seriously promising talent in that academy, and I'm actually going to watch that game. I used to watch the under-18s a lot more than what I do now because I'm super busy, but I really do want to make time to watch that game tonight, and I want to start watching more of the under-18s because there's some talent in there that Ruben Amorim definitely has his eye on, and that looks promising. You can never say a player's definitely going to make it, but I remember when I used to watch the under-18s when Kobbie was playing and Garnacho were playing, and Kobbie, for me especially, always stood out. So it's really good to kind of watch the team and see who looks like they're going to flourish and who could possibly make it into the first team. We already know about certain names that have been put out into the media that Ruben Amorim really likes. A lot of people saying we didn't push ahead with Giovanni Conda because of Bendato Mantato, is that how you say his name? I need to get it out properly. I've probably absolutely butchered that, but he's someone that I really want to kind of have a look at as well. So there is a lot of talent there that I really do want to watch later on at Villa Park. That will be good to see. Got some more news coming out. Speaking about Villa Park, Marcus Rashford. Let me see here in the... Where is it? The Marcus Rashford stuff. I've just lost my place on here. Okay, yeah, so he gets asked about Marcus Rashford and his form for Aston Villa. Marcus Rashford seems to be doing very well. I didn't actually watch the Villa game against Preston, but I've seen that he scored. He scored 2 goals. He scored 1 goal from open play, and then he scored a penalty as well. Did really well in that game, apparently. So he gets asked about Marcus Rashford and him getting fitter and what his possibility of the future of him under Ruben Amorim at Manchester United if he did ever come back from loan. And Ruben Amorim said, "We have a lot of games to play and I am focused on my team and on my players. Marcus Rashford is not my player at the moment, but I am happy when our players are playing well on loan." So Ruben Amorim basically shutting it down and saying, I want him to do well. I'm happy he's doing well. That's all I can say. I don't think Ruben Amorim is going to be sat there losing sleep because Marcus Rashford scored 2 goals against Preston in the FA Cup. Fair enough to Aston Villa and fair enough to Marcus Rashford. I want him to do well. I think every Manchester United fan should want him to do well. But you've got to put it into context. It's not as if he's gone out there and, he's playing against, he's going bagging goals against Arsenal, City, Chelsea, all the top teams every single week. He's doing well. He's playing well. You'd expect him to play well. He's a talented football player. We've said it on the channel numerous times. Well, I've said it anyway. I know certain other people maybe have different opinions. For example, Ricky doesn't actually rate him that highly. But Marcus Rashford is a very, very talented football player. But he wasn't doing it at United. He needed a change of environment. He desperately needed a change of environment. He's got it now at Aston Villa. He's doing well. I really hope Aston Villa buy him. Whether Marcus Rashford wants to go there, that's another story. He might have his eyes set on Barcelona. He might have his eyes set on an Arsenal move or a different club that might want him. But I really hope that he continues to do well. I want him to do well. And I hope he gets that move because I think the player himself and Manchester United, it's pretty obvious that they needed a break apart. And I think Marcus Rashford, after being at Manchester United his whole career and his whole life, probably needed a fresh environment, a different atmosphere. And he's started to play a lot better now, and that's probably because of that. So hopefully he does well, and hopefully there is a good future ahead for Marcus Rashford. But I personally don't think that will be under Ruben Amorim. I'm going to be honest. I don't think Ruben Amorim's interested. Ruben Amorim is absolutely massive on behaviours and the way you conduct yourself. And clearly, Marcus Rashford's conducting himself very well at Aston Villa, because I think Unai Emery is a top coach and I don't think he'd entertain Marcus Rashford if he wasn't doing the right things. But maybe he needed that move to do that. Because under Ruben Amorim did give him that opportunity, but certain things that he was doing behind the scenes, Ruben Amorim didn't align with the way he wants the culture to be at Manchester United. So it's probably best to have a break, and yeah, hopefully, I wish the best for Marcus Rashford, and I will always say that, and I will never doubt the fact that when he is playing well, when his confidence is up, when he is at his best, he's a very good player, and hopefully he goes out and shows that and continues to do it. It works out better for Manchester United as well. Amorim also gets asked about Nuno and the job he's done at Forest, and even though we're playing right, don't get me wrong here, I want to beat Nottingham Forest. I absolutely want to beat Nottingham Forest tomorrow night, but I really enjoy watching Nottingham Forest under Nuno, and I really like their team. And Ruben Amorim gets asked about the job he's done at Forest, and he says, "I am not surprised. He is a top manager. The environment will be really nice. They are doing amazing, but we want to continue to win games." And I actually watched the press conference, and he was very, very complimentary of Nuno, of what he'd done in the previous jobs in his career, the Wolves job especially, and then how it didn't work out at Tottenham for him, but he's always been a very good manager. Like I said, I want to beat Forest. I think it's going to be a very tough game. They are a very good team. Nuno is a very good manager. They've got some really, really good players. It's going to be tough. Forest are probably the favourites. Forest are the favourites going into that game. But I want to say, that aside, I really hope they go on and win the FA Cup. I'd love to see Forest win the FA Cup. I think they're having a fantastic season. If it's going to be anyone but Manchester United, I just think that story is really, really nice to see. And I think they've got some really likeable players that are doing really good things for that club. Forest are a big club. Forest, have come back into the Premier League and they've done really good stuff under Nuno, and I just don't want them to fall off like next year and go back to being the mid-table, bottom half of the table side. I want them to continue kicking on. So we'll see. They are our rivals tomorrow, and I always obviously want Manchester United to be doing the best, but I do have to pay a compliment where it's due, and they have been really good this season. And they've actually got some players I'd probably fancy having at Manchester United. What are your thoughts on this? Get in your comments down below. If you could take any player from Nottingham Forest at United, who would it be? Who would you take? Because there's multiple players at Nottingham Forest that catch my eye. There's some players that I just think are having a blinding season. Like Chris Wood. Do not get me wrong, he's having a fantastic season, but I don't think he's one of the best strikers in the Premier League, even though he's performing as one of the best strikers in the Premier League. I think he's having a fantastic season, and credit to him. Credit to him, he's doing really well. I think he's got a good team around him. He's got pacey wingers coming down the wing, getting crosses into the box, Hudson-Odoi, Elanga. It works really well together. But he's not someone I'd necessarily be like, yes, bring him to United in the summer, even though 100% in our team, he would do better than anyone we've got. Like, I'm not disrespecting that. But there's certain players in that team where I'm like, you know what, I would really like you at United. Morgan Gibbs-White is one of them. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is super talented. Not only is he talented, I think he's the right age profile. I think he'd fit in one of them number 10 roles. And when I watch him, I always look at the characteristics of a player. I really like his characteristics. He fights. He leaves everything out there on the pitch. He's got that hunger, he's got that edge to him, he's got that aggression. I like that. He's obviously a captain there at Nottingham Forest as well. The centre-back is... his name begins with an M. Why can't I remember it in this moment in time? Murillo, the centre-back, I think that's the one. He's another one that stands out to me. Aina, who is actually going to be going on a free transfer in the summer at this moment in time. He's another one that's had a very, very good season. Anthony Elanga. Oh, everyone in the chat is saying Elanga. Oh, Elanga. I forgot about Elanga. Elanga at right wing back under Amorim. Could you imagine the defensive work and flying down that wing? Elanga and Ahmad working together. Honestly, a lot of people have this kind of conversation about Elanga, and that Elanga talk does happen a lot amongst Manchester United fans, and that revisionism of his. Anthony Elanga, when he came through under Ralph Rangnick, it was under Ralph Rangnick he came through, he got the song, he burst onto the scene, and he did well. But there was multiple games where you could see he wasn't quite ready yet. The Forest move was the best thing he could have done for his career, and I don't regret it. We probably should have sold him for more than we did, 15 million. We probably should have got more money for him, because obviously he had a ceiling there, he had a very high ceiling. But the job that Nuno's done with him at Forest, and the game time he's been able to have, and the progression he's made, playing Premier League football week in, week out, you can't take for granted what Premier League football week in, week out will do for you as a player. And I'm really happy for Elanga. I want him to do well. He seems like a really nice guy, good player, good mentality. So I'm happy for him, and I think it was the right move to sell him. Right now, looking back, could he do a job at United? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think if he came back to United, he'd probably be our second best winger after Ahmad. So, and he'd probably fit somewhere in that system, but it's hindsight, isn't it? I think he's gone to Forest. I think he's found Premier League football every week. I think he's done really well. and I'm happy for him. And I don't sit back here and say, we never should have sold Elanga, because if we didn't sell him, he might have just rotted away on the bench and ended up somewhere else and not had that opportunity to go in and improve himself at a Forest and get that game time and do really well. Hudson-Odoi is another one. That's a mad one, because I bring this up all the time. Hudson-Odoi, I think Chelsea sold him for £4 million. It was either £4 or £5 million to Forest. And think about how much money Chelsea have spent on wingers. And Hudson-Odoi was there all along, and he would still be their best winger, Hudson-Odoi. I suppose people would say, well, you sold Elanga for 15 mil and then you got Sancho and Anthony, and it's like, to be fair, like, you've kind of got a point. And I would have Elanga over both Sancho and Anthony, to be honest with you. So I get that. But Hudson-Odoi is another one that's just with that game time, and I think Hudson-Odoi was always a really technically good player. He just needed that confidence behind him. Has gone on and done really well at Forest. Forest have got a good team. What I'm trying to say is it's going to be a difficult game. A couple people in the chat said Sells, the goalkeeper. Sells is a really good shout. Sells has done really well for Forest. Forest have just done really well this season, haven't they? But with Onana being super inconsistent for us, if you could take one player, I understand why people would say Sells, to be honest with you. Murillo, a lot of people saying in the chat, get your comments in. Here's one for you. Get in your comments now while I'm looking at them, and I'm going to go through the comments in a second. Do you think Morgan Gibbs-White is of the level we need if you were to buy him for one of the number 10 spots for Amorim's system in the summer? Because it's a big focus point for us in the summer, the number 10 spots. Fabrizio Romano dropped it, I think it was yesterday or over the weekend anyway, that Cunha has a £62 million release clause. You guys know, if you watch the shows, I'm such a massive fan of Cunha. There's been talk about us being interested in Semenyo from Bournemouth, but they've priced us out of a move by putting 70 million price tag on his head. There's been talk about us going for Eze. A lot of people worried about the fact Eze has been injury prone and has suffered with injuries. There's people talking about Cherki from Lyon. Well excited to see him play against us, by the way, when we go and head over to Lyon next week, because he's a big one that the football tacticos are looking at, that Cherki. I've heard mixed reviews. I know he's super talented, but I've heard he doesn't often get back and do the defensive work, and there might be some red flags over maybe, his attitude. That's just what I've heard. I can't say it's come from me, but that's just what I've heard. But undoubtedly, I know a lot of people have said he's super talented. I don't watch Leon on a regular basis, so I can't really comment on that one. And Buemo is another one that keeps coming up. Trincao from Sporting, a cheaper option that Amorim's actually worked with and lit up the game that Amorim managed Sporting with against Man City, and had a fantastic game there. But over the course of the season, is he going to be able to do it in the Prem? He's obviously played in the Prem before for Wolves. Trincao's 125. Who would you want to go for? Because I saw Rob Always United says, are you going to Lyon, Beth? We will be heading over to Lyon. I'm super excited for that one. It's a massive game. All or nothing on the Europa League this season. Europa League is what's keeping me going for the rest of this league campaign, and hopefully we'll get to see some of the youngsters come through as well. That's another exciting part of the fact of the Premier League. We want to finish as high as possible for the extra few million each spot you get, but I do think we'll see some youngsters get some opportunity if we continue in that Europa League, because more and more focus is going to go onto that. There's a lot of people saying no to Gibbs-White. Can you explain to me in the comments why you would say no to Gibbs-White? Do you just not think he's at the level? Do you think there's better options? Like, what is it? Because every time I watch Morgan Gibbs-White, I think, wow, like, you know what? There's a player in there. He's being called up to England now as well. And he's not only... Right, okay. And shut me down. Feel free to get in the comments. Morgan Gibbs-White is not one of them that I'm absolutely convinced, he's going to be able to do it at the top level week in, week out. But I definitely think there's a chance he could. Every time I watch him, his set-piece delivery is really good. He's all over the pitch. He's aggressive. He's hungry. He's technically good. He's got intelligence when he's on the ball. He's physical. He's athletic. He does tick a lot of boxes for me. And there's a main thing I look at when I watch players, and it's like, have they got that United in them? Because we've signed players over the year that, for me, they're just not a United player. And I don't know how I could. It's like ask ChatGPT, how would you describe a United player? You just get that feeling when you watch a player, are they a United player or not? And I think Morgan Gibbs-White has that. He has that slight edge to him. He has that slight attitude. And not in a way that it's like a bad thing. It's a way of that hunger, that desire. I would do everything to win. Everything to win out there on the pitch. And we need that. Ugarte's got it in him. There is players, Martinez has it in him. There is players, I think De Ligt has it in him. Bruno has it in him. There is players at that club that have that grit about them where it's like, you're a United player. And I think Morgan Gibbs-White does have that. It's just whether, ability-wise, is he good enough? I think he's done really well for Forest. And look at where Forest are in the league. Cunha's got that grit about him as well. I would love Cunha's my top option, and to be honest, Forest are not going to be looking at selling Morgan Gibbs-White, especially if they get Champions League football. Like, they're just not going to want to anyway. He's their captain. He's 25 years old. He's a boyhood Manchester United fan, by the way. But Gibbs-White, 25, it's one to look at. I'm just looking at Cunha's age now. There's some really good options in the Premier League, and that is where we should be looking, by the way. We want to get someone in them positions that is proven to contribute. We've taken too many risks, and of course you can get players across the top 5 leagues that come in and kill it. Bruno Fernandes was from the Portuguese league, and look at his career. He's one of the best players in the Premier League. Haaland came in from Dortmund. Of course you can go and get players from abroad, and they take the Premier League by storm. But United have sometimes, to save money, gone with maybe the riskier signing, and we need to start signing from the Premier League as well, especially them attacking positions where United have to improve. Our attacking output is nowhere near good enough. When we go and sign a number 10 and we go and sign a striker in the summer, they have to be right. They have to come in and they have to score goals, they have to contribute, and they have to be at the level straight away. We can't afford to make mistakes. Amorim said it himself, we can't afford to make mistakes. That's why I'd be looking in the Premier League as well, because you know that players that there have proved it. And Buemo's gone out and proved he can do it weekly in the Prem. Cunha's done it. Morgan Gibbs-White's done it. Eze's done it. These players have done that. I'm absolutely open to looking at a Cherki and looking at other players that people are talking about, a Trincao. But I know them players will provide, and that's what kind of sways me there. Cunha's also 25. Cunha's my top priority. And I actually think 62 million is not even a bad price for what you're getting with Cunha. 62 million release clause. He's 25, so he's got his best years ahead of him. He's Premier League proven. 62 million. If people were trying to claim Alejandro Garnacho was 60, 70 million in January, Cunha, by them standards, should be worth way more than that. Cunha for 62 million, I don't think that's a bad price, especially considering you know that he is going to come in and he is going to contribute. Touch wood, injuries-wise, he stays fit. He scores goals weekly. Look at where Wolves are in the table. He's a good player, so I think 62 million isn't even a bad price for him as well. Ashton Xavier says, Thiago Almada. Yeah, a lot of people have brought up that name as well. He's someone that a lot of the fans have looked at as well. David McCarthy says, would you... I'm just kind of looking at would you take Luke Bennett? Enchanted Angel says, bring Kai Havertz in from Arsenal and Wow in on loan. Is that a sabotage super chat there? Like, why on earth would I want to try and... Why would I do that? Absolutely not. Keith Long says, wasn't Alexis Sanchez Premier League proven? Yeah, you've kind of just picked out like the one example there that's obviously good. There's going to be points that are going to try and prove you wrong each way you go about it, but look at how Arsenal have progressed. Arsenal and Mikel Arteta have shopped predominantly in the Premier League. It's worked out quite well for them. When Liverpool brought in Van Dijk, Mane, they went and got them from Southampton. Jota came from Wolves, and they've done really well because they were already proving it in the Premier League. Of course, they've got players from foreign leagues as well. I don't think every single player you should get in has to be from the Premier League, but Manchester United have not been shopping in the Premier League enough. What players have we bought from the Premier League within the last 5 years? Which ones? Eriksen on a free. Mason Mount, which injury prone, so you can't really kind of judge that fairly. And what, Tom Heaton? Like, just because we've bought for the Premier League before and we've had our fingers burnt doesn't mean we should stop doing that. We've just bought poorly. It's like when we paid 80 million for Maguire. Why are you paying 80 million? Wan-Bissaka, 50 million. We overpaid. So that, I feel like that's kind of burnt us to stop doing that. But if you scout properly and get the right sort of players in, you can get really good deals. You really can. One situation where I wouldn't go Premier League, and something that I saw over the weekend that's kind of like, it's one that I just wanted to touch on before I wrap up the show, is the striker situation. Because it looks like Arsenal are going for Gyökeres. About 2 seasons ago, Arsenal were looking at Gyökeres. They were also looking at Gyökeres last season. It's been very much played down about Manchester United going in for Gyökeres. We had that report coming out from Laurie Whitwell that Manchester United deemed Gyökeres too expensive for his age, 27. I don't know how £60 million for a 27-year-old that's banging goals in every week is too expensive, but I thought that was Manchester United kind of trying to play us away from Gyökeres because he's probably going somewhere else. Isak's looking like he might be going to Liverpool, which is massive, especially, you know, if they lose, well, they are going to lose Trent. They might lose Salah, probably going to lose Van Dijk as well. Like, if they can go and secure an Isak, that's absolutely huge for them. So I think Arsenal and Liverpool both hunting down Isak. If Arsenal can't get Isak and he goes to Liverpool, then they're probably going to go for Gyökeres. And it's like these teams that are already miles ahead of us are going to just be getting further and further ahead. Where does that leave Manchester United in terms of a striker to bring in? Liam Delap is someone we're constantly looking at. And even though I've spoken about Premier League proven being important, you've just got to kind of put everything in context. I'd rather have an Osimhen or a Gyökeres than a Delap, even though they're from foreign leagues, because the more senior strikers, the more experienced strikers that have proved it for a longer period of time. You've kind of got to look everything in the right context. But that kind of worries me about the striker situation for Manchester United, because there's a lot of clubs on the hunt for a striker, and clubs that can offer a better package than United. Financially, because financially we're up against it, but also Champions League football, further along in the project, more likely to win titles. And I got absolutely bantered on Twitter the other day because Fabrizio Romano dropped about Cunha's, you know, I want to fight for titles, I'm ready for the next step. And I said, Cunha, bring him in to be Amorim's left-sided 10. And everyone was commenting saying, he says he wants to fight for titles, not for relegation. And as much as, yeah, the banter in me as a United fan, it's kind of true. Like, Manchester United are closer to relegation than we are to the top of the Premier League. So this kind of worries me because we've got so many areas we need to improve on, and we've got to try and attract these players that are really going to take us up to the next level. And this is where scouting comes into it massively. Class of 99 says, what about outgoings? Højlund, Garnacho, sale value. Højlund's not going anywhere. His book value is too high. I think Højlund's book value is about 42 million. No one's paying that for him, so he won't go. The most you'll get is him going on loan, but I don't think that'll happen either. Garnacho sale value. Garnacho's one that I think might go, and I know a lot of people don't want it to happen, and in an ideal world, I don't want it to happen either. But we're gonna need to get money from somewhere. And like I've said multiple times, as much as I like Garnacho and I think he's got good potential, I think Cunha would be better than him. I think Mbeumo would be better than him. I could name quite a few players that we could go and buy that would be better than him in their number 10 roles. And if you want to improve your starting 11, you want more output, these are certain decisions we might have to make. And it is unfair that a player that's, like, both Højlund and Garnacho have underperformed this season. Garnacho will probably end up going just because you can get money for him. Whereas because Højlund's book value is too high, we'll probably keep him. It shouldn't work like that. It should be based off who the manager wants to keep, who the manager sees to have more of a future. And it's tough because they're both young players that have been thrown in the deep end, that have been over-promoted, in my opinion. Both Højlund and Garnacho should be only just kind of establishing themselves at United right now. They should be coming off the bench for 20 minutes here and there. But because our squad depth is so thin, and because we've not got good enough senior players, they've been over-promoted, and then that comes with a lot of criticism because, you know, are they providing week in, week out? And they're not. But they're not at that stage of the career yet. They've still got loads of levels to go up. They've got so much to learn. They've got more experience to get. So it's unfortunate that we might have to sell a Garnacho when, realistically, in a year's time or 2 years' time, he could have progressed then to the point where, you know, he's reaching the levels where you would want him to be to play for Man United. But United don't really have the time, and we also need money. It's unfortunate, but that's the way that this FFP and PSR works, and it needs looking at, in my opinion. Leroy says, a lot of players have got faces like spat bums when we are not winning. That's something that we've had to improve. Absolutely, the body language. Of course, you don't want players that are on the pitch like laughing and smiling, walking off the pitch when you lose a game. But also, in-game, you've got to be a team. You've got to be able to manage sections of a game. And I think that's what Manchester United have been really poor at, managing periods of games. We are naive a lot of the time. Our heads drop in the past a lot of the time, but I think we have got a lot better at overcoming obstacles in games, and that's something we've got to keep working on, and that's where leadership comes into things as well. Greg Donald says, we don't have time, yet we're buying a lot of young players. Yeah, exactly. You need a mix. You need a mix of youth, but you also need that experience. You have to have a blend. And that's what worries me. It just seems like we're going young. And it's like, that's good for the future, but for now, we're in 14th, and we need to be competing at least in the top 4. And there's so many teams that are way further ahead of us and have more senior players that are at a higher level. We have Steve Woodley says, just wait, Beth, Cunha to Chelsea incoming. Wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, would not be surprised. Just because with Chelsea, they always want what they don't have. Like, they do not need that position. They've got Cole Palmer, they've got Nkunku might leave, to be fair, but they've got other players that can play there. Yet Sancho, they might go for him just because of other people going for him. There was rumours Arsenal were in for him as well, and it is interesting, like, who is going to go for Cunha. The names that have been linked to Cunha have been Arsenal, United, and potentially Chelsea. Arsenal are going to have to focus on a striker first and foremost. And is he going to start every single game? Chelsea, I mean, look at the squad that Chelsea have got. It's like Chelsea started off the season really well. They've started to fall away, and I think sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen spoils the broth, or whatever they call it. With United, I know we're way far off them teams, but you're going to come in, you're going to start, and you've got a position that's kind of tailored to you. I think we've got good odds on getting Cunha if we actually do fully go in for him, but we'll see. Anyway, look, the Premier League is back. I'm waffling on a little bit. I missed a lot over the weekend, and be gutted to miss out on Gyökeres. He's definitely making a move. Whether it will be to Arsenal, I don't know. Osimhen, someone we've not heard about in a while. I think Laurie Whitwell said that United it's definitely someone United would want to go for. There was news coming out that Osimhen wouldn't need Champions League football to move, which is always good. You want a player to come to the club no matter what. And he clearly, he's clearly open to United move. You can see that through what's come out through the media. But it's whether a team that can offer more does go in for him, and where we're at. I think I can see United going for a cheaper deal. I can see United going for a Delap when Ipswich get relegated. But I like Delap, by the way. I've said it multiple times. I think he's got a really good future ahead of him. And I think he's done well at Ipswich. But we need a proven goal scorer that is going to come in, rip it up, and put on that United shirt, walk out with oozing of confidence, and just tell everyone, I need the ball in the box, know what's going on, and really kind of have that aura of, I am the striker, I am here to score goals. Delap has definitely got talent, he's definitely got skill, and he's a hard worker. He's done well in the Premier League, he's proven that. But that step up to United, I think, is big, especially where United are at. You need someone that's not going to, the pressure's not going to affect them one bit, and that's hard to find. And I think you would find that through a player that is scored goals throughout the career. Gyökeres has done it under Amorim, he knows he can do it. Osimhen's done it ever since he kind of, is hit the ground running. He's done it his numbers over the last 5 seasons are incredible, the consistency levels. So that's what United need. Whether we get it because of the money, we'll have to wait and see. And there's a lot of people that will say, we have to go and get a Gyökeres, we have to go and get an Osimhen, but you're not willing to sell a Garnacho. And it's like, you can't really have both. We don't have any money. we're going to have to free up some money somewhere, so we'll have to see. Look, everyone, hit a like on the video. You know, it might be Mainu. Mainu might get put up for sale. I don't want that. I ideally don't want either of them, but we might have to face that reality, is what I'm trying to say. Hit a like on the video. Football is back. Manchester United away at Nottingham Forest tomorrow at the City Ground. I can't wait. I honestly can't wait. And then you've got the derby on Sunday, and then in quick succession we're away in Lyon. There's some really good games coming up for Manchester United, and I cannot wait for them. It's going to be fantastic shows coming up, and hopefully the results continue to head in a positive direction. We can really end this season on a high. Thanks for watching. Get your comments in down below. Anyone from Forest would you take? Would you take Ola Aina? It's looking like he's going to go on a free transfer. Is that someone you'd be interested in? Morgan Gibbs-White, who do you want for the number 10 spots? Is 62 million a fair price for Cunha? I think it is. A lot of the comments were saying it was too high. I think you've got to understand what you're getting with that, and sometimes you've got to pay a premium for certainties. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.